near sunrise and sunset on the moon. Now this is a shot from Apollo 15, just to show you that they actually photographed this on every mission. And right up here in this little square, here's another little prism, and the sun is almost behind you because you're looking almost, you're looking north of west by maybe, 20, 30 degrees. All of these images can be found on the Apollo Lunar Surface Journal. All of them can be downloaded. You can reproduce everything I've shown you on your own computer screen. You can take the CD that we've given you, which shows the raw and the actively enhanced images. You can replicate what we have done with the raw data. And then you can go to another connected website called the Project Apollo Archive, which is another NASA guy who's been scanning, it actually says so, he's been scanning the original imagery from the Apollo program. This is amazing stuff because it's checkable. Now, optically what's happening, this is a Cassini photograph of Titan, all right, which is an outer moon of Saturn, taken when the sun was behind and they were basically looking at the atmospheric prism of the sunlight being refracted by the Titan atmosphere. Replace the atmosphere around Titan with a glass grid thinning out with altitude because of micrometeorite abrasion coming down to the surface all at various places around our own moon, and you get an identical optical refractive prismatic effect. It gets better. If I take two prisms and I have the light bent so that it overlaps, I get this very interesting third color, this kind of pink color. All right, here's a close-up. Now, another projection of the model is that if we're dealing with glass shards sticking up, refracting sunlight, then the prisms also have to hit the ground. They have to be coloring the surface. The surface of the moon cannot be just dead gray. The reason it's dead gray is because NASA has been selectively getting rid of the color. So you don't see this effect on the surface of the moon. So let's go to the data. Here is one of the photographs taken on the rim of Shorty Crater. You can actually see, here's a color chart, here's the orange soil they found, but look at the blue rocks here, and look at these incredibly pinkish, violetish hills in the background, and all we've done is turn up the color that's already in the scene. The same kind of color, which the model says has to be producing this kind of effect when you overlap the effects of two or more prismatic shards shining glass on the same piece of lunar ground. Then we come to this guy. This is perhaps our most interesting witness. This is a real astronaut. This is Alan Bean, who was the lunar module pilot on Apollo 12. The command module pilot, Pete Conrad, died under very mysterious and weird circumstances, to be told at another time. Alan Bean, when he came back from the moon, changed careers. He went from being engineer astronaut to basically artist astronaut. And he's painted countless picture after picture after picture of the moon, showing, by the way, all kinds of junk in the sky. Furthermore, when he was asked by Discover magazine back in 1994, what did the sky look like from the moon, his answer was phenomenal. He said, it looks like a shiny black. It doesn't look like Earth black at night. Up there, space has a real shiny look. It reminded me a little bit of patent leather shoes. And I kept asking myself as I looked at it, why does it seem so shiny? Here's a man who is obviously remembering what it really looked like. And he has no conceptual model, no frame, no rational scientific explanation. So he's groping for, well, it's different than the Earth. But he can't pin down why it's different because he wasn't told he was looking at ruins. And the ruins are so extensive and so huge and so awesome and of such mega engineering scale that his mind, trained in NASA and doing his job on the mission, was not prepared to see what he actually was seeing and to put it in the proper context. So he's describing an observation or set of observations But he apparently, when this was written, didn't have a clue as to the real explanation. Well, in subsequent years, he has done some pretty amazing things. This is an actual photograph taken of the same scene that he painted, and notice that when you take that official photograph from the web, from the Apollo Surface Journal, which is an official NASA website, lo and behold, there is the grid above Apollo 12, and this is Alan Bean putting up the scientific instruments that he just offloaded from the lunar module, which is sticking out behind him. Here's the antenna aiming the TV signals to Earth. This is the flag. But around him is this whole grid. And of course, the bits of glass look shiny. He's remembering somehow that there really was a lot more to the moon than anyone has admitted to before. Which brings us back to the prisms and their color. Because in his capacity now as artist, professional artist, and here's an Air and Space piece covering his amazing artistic career, he paints one thing over and over and over again, almost obsessively, almost like he can't get it out of his mind. Or, I think, because that's the way he can safely communicate the truth without getting into trouble. Because when you look at his paintings, here's an amazing painting, okay? Look at all the colors. This, of course, is a moon lit by prisms, lit by huge shards of glass refracting exactly the kind of prismatic light that we've now got on record in the Apollo 17 and Apollo 15, and most of the other missions we found at least one or two frames that show this glass. And I must say, we haven't had the time to go comprehensively through all the frames that are on the web. That will be for you guys to do. And then you will send me frame numbers and say, look what I found. Look what I found here. Look what I found there. And we build this cadre of real investigation one frame at a time. So here is the panorama of Shorty Crater. Here's the prismatic effect. Here's Alan Bean's artistic representation. Doesn't this look incredibly like this? As well it should. Now, Alan did a series of paintings for one of the official Apollo books, which came out a few years ago. Steve Troy and I wrote about it on the Enterprise mission, and Mike, I think, published a version on lunar anomalies as well. And one of the most interesting things in there was a picture of